So today I'm going to talk to you about an article written by Jana Al Hassan, who is a choreographer from Lebanon, which is called الرقص على ضفاف المتوسط, that I translated dancing around the Mediterranean so that it can have like a more global meaning, especially with the presentations that we had today. So you can have a look at this compilation made by Bahithat, the Lebanese Association of Women Researchers. So it's a very interesting, edited articles collection from around the world, and especially in the Middle East and Lebanon, made by women mostly, but also by men. So there she is. You can see her also on Instagram. So she starts speaking about the dance movement around the Mediterranean. That is just like a spoken language. It is the result of people's communal narrative and traditions. For her, dancing in Lebanon and around the Mediterranean bears a negative connotation. So the concept of moving your body in public is demeaning. As women in our societies are considered as corrupt or inside for corruption. And men who enjoy watching Oriental dancers do not engage or encourage their people in their family, women or men, to become dancers. For men, usually dance is more folkloric, so they barely move, and we can see that usually on the dance floors. But hopefully there is Zabki that I'm going to talk about later on. So the dancing body for her around the Mediterranean is like living your body by moving it, and maybe it's totally opposite to the carcans that we're imposing on women currently in our societies. But she asked questions as well, and that's like what got me interested in the book in the first place, the article. Are human movements human move? Is every human movement a dance? And how can we move? And what are we expressing? So when we are designing a choreography, so Jana is a designer, so she knows what she's talking about. We want to express human emotions. The dancers draw with their body the movements of everyday life. So what is her intention in this research article? She basically is based on the concept of sculpture, just like the study of architecture and visual maqam, and an interest in dance form just in an anthropological way and not just as a performance. So when we extract everyday unusual movement of the body, we face a body that is biological and universal. So people are speaking about their daily lives, and maybe they want to express truth, weakness, happiness, fear, the harmony between word and body, a language that consists of an internal pattern of the Mediterranean dancing. For them, music is a continuity of word and movement. It is the completion of music. So here I'm taking you to two quotes from the book. The first one is by Luis Al-Farouqi. There is no discontinuity between holy and mundane in Islam. And that brings us to one of the first questions that I began asking. Is dancing something bad? Is it done by people who are corrupt? Or is it just the continuity of our daily movement? For Ray Birdswhistle, who's sociologist, every culture has its own collection of kinetic movement elements that are arranged in dance. So for them, we are not just dancing, we're actually integrating a movement like how we sit, like how we walk, in something that is more spectacular, that is a choreography. And here she takes the example of a ballet that is like very striking. In ballet, the body is mechanical, the waist is static, and basically that's the center of movement of our body. There are like 5 basic moves. The face is fixed, and it expresses in no individual, no dramatic feeling. So that's totally in contrast with contemporary dancing and dabke that we're going to talk about in just a minute. And since Yasmin mentioned Louis XIV, ballet started at his court, and women were forced to wear cages that were afterwards like transformed into what we see now, the dresses, the white dresses. In flamenco, contrary to, in contrast, to contemporary and dancing that is like done in the Middle East, the body parts cannot move freely and organically. People are allowed to express themselves in collaborative movements that include love and fear. Their faces are expressive. The dancers are actively present, and their movement convey their body. So we see here in the example how the person has her chin up and is really like living the moment and occupying space, and not like in ballet. And an interesting example she gives is like, so now we were in Spain, where she takes us to Cairo, and gives the example of Nadia Jamal, who's a student of Tahia Carioca, who's actually from Greece and developed her own dancing style in Beirut when she was 40. And Jana says in analyzing what her choreography may have made is that actually she integrated the movements that were in everyday lives of women in Beirut in her style, and started like becoming more personal rather than repeating movements. And she speaks about the architecture that is also transposed in the dancing style. Like Oriental dancers are moving like in arabesque. So it gives a whole different meaning to what we now have, like dancing moves in Egyptian movies. She also gives the example of Najwa Fuad, who kept down dancing in her 50s. So there is no retiring in Oriental dance, unlike in ballet, for instance, where you are actually performing very difficult moves that you cannot do later on. So what these people are expressing is, I am here, I live in the present, my body is voluptuous and harmonious, and they don't have to go through these diets that we all know about, that ballet dancers have to go through. So yeah, at the end, I think we need to demystify a little bit the idea of dancing as just a part of party life, and put it more into a spiritual context. So the whirling dervish are repeating a circular movement until the end, just like the Oriental dancer is repeating an H shape that resembles infinity until the end of their dance. So the movement of the basin let us celebrate diversity and preserve our cultural heritage instead of learning dance moves that are not part of our culture, or she said maybe only starting with our Oriental dancing and then moving into a more westernized kind of dancing. So yeah, here are some of the references that she mentions in her article, and don't hesitate to check them out. And if you have questions at the end of the presentation, I'll be happy to answer.